Welcome back, everybody, to the Financial Advisors Workshop. Our objective here today and always is to talk to people in the financial advisor world. And we as financial advisors work independently often, but often talk. And so we're going to hear good stories from great financial advisors. And today we have Nick Cantrell, and Nick is the founder of Wealth Advisor. He's a wealth advisor, at Green Future Wealth Management. And we want to welcome Nick to the podcast and the video series here at Financial Advisor Workshop. Nick, welcome on board.
Well, thanks, Brian. I'm glad to be here today.
So Nick, thank you for coming. Green Future is served over 200 clients. The team has 105 million under management, and you have about 60 in your personal group. So we'll talk a little bit about your team. And you've been an advisor for 15 years with a number of different ways you've done it in the past. So let's talk a little bit about how you got in the business. It was an interesting entry from what you've told me.
Yeah, thanks. I came in, I started in this business when I was 25, 26 years old. I actually grew up, my father's a planner. And he owns his own small RIA sort of in Scottsdale, actually still taking on clients. He's 76. So I grew up in his practice, and he dragged me in on the weekends to do his filing and things like that. He started in the late 80s back at IDS. And so when I decided I didn't want to be a high school teacher anymore after trying that for 3 years, it was basically the thing that I knew the most about because I had worked in his practice as a kid growing up. So what I basically decided to do is I went and toured around, took a couple of interviews, ended up starting my career at New York Life, spent 5 years there at the Boston General Office of New York Life. Good firm. They were the largest office in the country. So good, really comprehensive training program, sort of that old life insurance agency system where they'll take somebody who doesn't know anything about anything, which was me at the time, and coach me up, train me, and try to get me in the business. I found after a few years that I was not great at selling life insurance, but I was pretty good at financial planning and working on investing. And I came into the business in 2007. Then, of course, 2008 happened. So I was 26 years old.
Yeah.
Counsel people as to why they trusted me, and then I lost all their money. But it was a bit of a trial by fire. And the organization, New York Life, they're a good group. But I found that they were just a lot more focused on life insurance than I was. And so I was running the practice that was about 80 or 90% investment based. And so I don't think anybody felt like it was a great fit. So after about 5 years, we decided to part ways there amicably. But good place to start out. No regrets.
Great. Now, in the previous discussion, we talked about when you first joined there, you always wanted to be more on the investment side. And they never even asked you if you were interested in life insurance, did they?
Well, no, they probably knew what I would have said because I was 25 years old, and I don't think I owned any life insurance unless I gotten some group term along the way. And yeah, they asked it, I probably would have said no. I'm not interested, and I'm not even quite sure what it is or how you get it. So maybe they were smart enough not to ask me.
So the investment side for that firm at that time was really more, I think you said, more of an accommodation, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of the insurance firms, it still is a bit of an accommodation. Some of them do a decent amount of business there. But when we look at, whether it's those old agency systems and Northwesterns and New York Lives, they have some advisors there that run pretty substantial practices, but based on the thousands and thousands of advisors they have there, and the amount of revenue that it contributes, it's a pretty negligible amount. So I think it's an accommodation for some of the larger advisors that are there too. And it certainly felt as if they were doing their best to accommodate me, but that we were essentially just trying to build different practices.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, that's I guess everybody develops their bias. But it seems like some of the life houses that do investments is more of an accommodation. So they really want you to sell life insurance, which you can sell, but when you get into the investment world, then it's more what the client wants, right? Instead of what the firm wants.
Yeah, and we're a full service shop now. So we, I kept my insurance licenses. But I was looking at it recently, and I don't even think it was 1% of revenue in the last 12 months. So I think it's more of an accommodation to clients now that will keep the life insurance and write a small term policy here if a client needs one, just because they like to work with us on it. But it's certainly not a focus of ours, and doesn't contribute to revenue. It's I guess I was probably never all that great at selling life insurance. But it's a tool. It's a tool in the toolbox. It's just not a main focus of our firm or a main focus of mine today.
So you eventually left the firm, right? And then you took a whole nother turn, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, thanks. It was interesting. So I left New York Life, and I found this really great opportunity. I was still pretty young. Didn't feel like I was quite ready to hang my own shingle yet. I found this great opportunity at a credit union that served folks at a teaching hospital and other academics. So I had an office right in the medical school building, and I served mainly physicians and some nurses and a lot of PhD researchers. And it was really this incredible opportunity. We grew very fast there. Did some pretty interesting work there. Worked with a lot of folks that were non-citizens or recent citizens, and had an opportunity to really see a lot of the practice there. And I spent 5 years running a firm there, and we were doing a lot of. It's actually where I got in line with the sustainable investing, because a lot of our academic clients at some of the surrounding universities that we serve had a real interest in sustainability, and they sort of drew me into it, and that really sparked my interest.
Excellent. So what kind of clients did you have there, and what did you do?
Yeah, so we did investment management, financial planning services for predominantly physicians and college professors, and some nurses as well too. But a lot of our clients, we were affiliated with a really large teaching hospital that was actually it was interesting. It was part of the state pension system. So we did a lot of pension analysis for folks and helping them integrate it. There was sort of some funky things that happened with Social Security, and I really became a Social Security and pension expert while I was there. And it was interesting. One of the things I found is no matter how much money somebody has, they always want to make sure that they maximize Social Security. So it was one of the ways that I started to realize you can develop a niche, and it'll help you gain access to higher net worth clientele. Because I don't care if $100 million, if they paid into Social Security, they want to make sure that they are going to get out the maximum amount that they can. The rules are pretty difficult to come by, particularly if there's any sort of complex situation. And nobody really knows much about it. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
So you picked up a lot of business. If I remember right, it really exploded from there. I mean, it was a real great platform for you. And tell us about how big the business grew.
Yeah, we grew from, that practice grew from about 20 million to about 80 million in a little bit less than 5 years. It was I would say it was a pretty nice mix of some larger clients, some smaller clients. I would say a typical household for us was not tremendously wealthy, although we had some really wealthy households. But we also, one of the things about being in a credit union is there's a lot of values based features of a credit union. It's one of the things that I identified with pretty well. So the idea is we're here to serve. You serve your members. It's a service mentality. So we would help. We're trying to set up their first Roth IRA or needed help, just figuring out what their benefits were. And then we would have clients who were quite wealthy, who were physicians or, senior members at a hospital or medical school, and everything that went along with that.
A lot of medical people involved in right? That was what it was.
Yeah, just a massive teaching hospital. And there's real opportunities across the country for getting in. There's a lot of advisors that do have niche practices that focus on physicians. And I can see why. I mean, there's lots of planning opportunities. They really do value niche expertise. So for folks that want to develop that expertise, they're pretty receptive to trusting it, and they generally are more likely to trust a recommendation from a fellow physician than anybody else. So if you can get in there with a core group of physicians, I think that there's a lot of value that you can bring to them and a lot of business that you can generate.
Yeah, interesting. So that was a great platform. You built a business there. So then you left, and why did you leave? And then, let's talk about your next move.
Yeah. So next up, I really wanted to be in the independent space. It's, being in this industry, it doesn't come with a handbook when you start out at 25 years old. And so I sort of navigated my way around from opportunity to opportunity, trying to figure out what was going to be the best fit for me. And the more I learned about the independent space, the more I felt that it really was the best place for me. And I think I mentioned my father's an advisor, and he had, by that point in time, he had built his own RIA and dropped his securities licenses and was fee only at that point in time, and really enjoying the freedom that it gave him. So I really wanted to pursue the independent space, although I wanted to have the broker dealer affiliation because I had so many clients that I had amassed over 10 years who had securities based accounts that it would have really it would have been easier to in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of headaches that go along with having the affiliation that I have today. Although I like my firm, but I wanted to make sure that I was able to continue to service them. So I chose to go right now with Cambridge in the independent space, and I use their corporate RIA as well.
Nice. So you're okay. So you're still hooked up with, and you have a Series 765 licenses, life, health, obviously variable. And you're a CFP, a CFC, CLU, and you've got a lot of letters, and it's impressive. So when you deal with clients now, how do you operate? Like when you meet them, do you start out talking about insurance at any level, or do you start out mostly about planning?
So we do a comprehensive planning with our clients. And so we're going to touch on their insurance. We're going to review their insurance policies that they have in place. We do find that a lot of clients just are underinsured. So we'll recommend insurance if they need it. They're free to work with their insurance advisor if they already have one. We will get life insurance or long-term care insurance for folks if they need it. But we're generally just going to broker cheap term insurance for folks. We do tend to find that people are underinsured, but we're happy to, if they have insurance advisors in place, we're happy to work with them and just let them handle it, because it's not a main focus of ours right now.
Okay. So main focus Let's talk about how you handle the investment side, and then what's your process?
Yeah, so our whole focus is on helping clients to manifest their values into their financial lives and into their investments. So we do all of the typical financial planning. We use Money Guide Pro, Andy Money. We use Morningstar to analyze client accounts. We also use Y charts for running our investment models. And we use a lot of the similar tools and processes that a regular advisor would, but we also sort of focus it all around the values question. So we also use some tools around trying to find out what's meaningful to our clients from a value standpoint. And that oftentimes could be they want to invest in environmentally sustainable models, or portfolios that are divested from fossil fuels, or weapons manufacturers. Or we use a tool called Your Stake, which allows us to analyze over 100 different ESG metrics, and we can really customize portfolios based off of what the clients are most engaged in and what they most want to see reflected in their portfolios, whether we're using funds or ETFs or individual stocks.
Any of the selections, or are you mostly making all the selections based on the plan you've created?
Yeah, so we're doing all of the security selection. Clients come in with some securities sometimes, and we see whether or not they're a fit for the portfolios. Obviously, if there's tax issues, we'll work out a tax transition or do some planning around it. We do customize out portfolios for clients, although we have models that we base them off of. But if a client comes in with an appreciated position, we would treat it just the way that everybody else would, where we'll work out a tax plan for it, or maybe that'll just be a position that doesn't get transitioned at all. But we do have that overlay of looking at it from a value standpoint to make sure that what our clients own are a reflection of their ongoing values. And what we found is that the clients that go through this process this way, and we don't require it from folks. We have some clients that don't incorporate values into their investment process or their security selection. About 80% of the assets we manage, we do incorporate values or have some sort of an ethical mandate. But the clients that we do take through this process, they tend to be much more committed to their financial plan. They tend to be much more likely to take a long-term view on the portfolios that they hold, which is helpful in a market like today's market's been. So we do find that beyond just looking at what they would call the pecuniary financials underlying, incorporating the values, or what's commonly referred to as ESG metrics, really does help clients maintain that long-term perspective.
Yes. So you've done reviews with everybody this year so far, I suspect, like CAFE reviews. How's everything going with everybody? Are they everybody okay, or we got a few that are jumping off the lake, or what?
Yeah, for the most part, everybody's okay. We have a as there's always bad timing in these things. I think about the timing aspect when I came in 2007, and then the world fell apart. So everybody's pretty much taken a long-term view. Nobody's jumped ship. Nobody's moved to cash. We did have a client who was, a new investor, and then we, started to invest. And luckily, we're new investors. We typically recommend dollar cost averaging, and okay. So that did help. Which I recommend for advisors that are not considering that. If somebody is a new investor and this was an inheritance situation, as a lot of new investors are, dollar cost averaging can really help a lot of times. It's not a silver bullet, but it can help mitigate some of that volatility, particularly if it's shorter term there. So by and large, clients are doing well, taking a long-term view. And luckily most of my clients have been with me for a number of years, and we've had a good bull run here for a long time.
Here we have. Well, hopefully they take it in stride. Sure. So what other kinds of things have you built into it? Maybe a little bit of insurance or any other special services that you guys provide, or other unique things that you like?
Yeah, so we've really expanded a lot this year. So for the last couple of years, I've had an estate planning attorney that is a part of our office suite here, who is able to offer quite a bit. He's not a part of the firm, but he works with a number of our clients and is able to offer quite a bit in terms of advanced estate planning. He writes an estate planning column for Forbes every month. So he's very well respected there. And then earlier this year, mainly my big focus in business for the year was I completed an acquisition of a retiring advisor's practice. It's about 2.5 hours away from where my office is, where my main office is. It's now our third office. But I knew I've got 4 young kids and I didn't want to be commuting. So actually I hired an advisor to run that practice. And they do tax returns. They do tax prep in that office too. It's always been a part of their business mix. So not only have we added on another office with an additional 4 team members, and have been really focused on transitioning those clients from the advisor who is going to be retiring to the new advisor that I hired. But it's all new for me in terms of I now have a firm that does tax prep, which is never something that I knew. I mean, I've known advisors that have had tax prep businesses that were either external or internal part of the firm, but so that's been an interesting learning curve for me, is just getting set up for tax season, which is around the corner here. But I like what we've been able to do. Not only has it been able to add quite a bit of assets and scale and team members, but now we have an estate planning attorney here. We have a tax preparer. We have multiple advisors in multiple states. I hired a CFA to run our models as a consultant. So really trying to build a one-stop shop that can offer fully customized, sustainable investing. We have advanced tax resources and estate planning resources in-house. We can even handle the tax prep if you want. Although we're not looking to grow that business. It's only 4 advisory clients of ours. Not really an area where we're looking to grow a ton. But I'm really happy with what we've added in terms of capabilities this year. It's been a busy year.
Yeah. So when you kind of assess now all the different varied things you've done in your career, now you built this firm, added on some acquisitions. Why do you think people are with your firm and with you? Is there something unique about you, personal service, or how do you define your firm?
Yeah, that's a good question. We differentiate ourselves based off of the ability for clients to customize their investment portfolios based off of their values. But I actually think that where clients get the most value is out of the financial planning. So I think a lot of times if people are coming to us because they've been a referral, which is maybe about half of our clients come to us through referrals, they're generally getting referred in because the person who's doing the referring has appreciated the financial planning that we've done for them and the value that it adds. But we also get a lot of people that reach out to us who we've never met and we're not referred in. And those people reach out to us because of our niche in sustainable investing. So it's sort of an interesting hodgepodge right now. It's about half and half at this point in time. And I think most of them, if I had to put my finger on it, are coming to us because they want to couple the sustainable investing that is a fit for their values with the financial planning, tax planning, that sort of comprehensive one-stop shop. And there's really not a ton of firms that offer fully customizable investments and tax planning and financial planning and even tax prep without having pretty large dollar amounts. And so because we can service households that are, 500,000, $1 million, 2 million, and service them in that way, I think we're a pretty attractive solution for a lot of folks.
Nice. Well, it sounds like it is. And it sounds like you have a great practice, and your experience leads you to be a good leader in this industry, having seen a lot of different things. I would say too, you have a platform right now on this financial advisors workshop that about 1,000 advisors are going to see this presentation over the next, say, 90 days. So imagine yourself being in an auditorium with 1,000 people, and Nick, you're at the podium. Is there a message that you would like to send to all the folks about either your experiences, a compelling message that you want to send to the industry?
The compelling message I would send is figure out your niche, go after it. Because one of the things that has happened as we've come through COVID, I'm having a client event on Friday, and we are pounding the phones to get people to come to the client event, which I have never experienced before. And I think part of what is happening is people are less committed to the in-person experience in office. Not everybody, not every advisor seeing this, but they're less committed to the in-person experience, and they're more committed to uniquely differentiated service that feels like it's just for them. It's like Uber. I'm going to pull them up on my phone. They're going to take me any place I want to go. And so I think as that continues to happen, individual clients are going to be less tied to finding somebody on their block or in their town or in their zip code. And so I think if you can find a niche that you already serve, or maybe that you don't already serve, but you could serve and serve well, and particularly the deeper you can go into that niche, I think it will make it easier in a lot of ways to bring in clients. You don't have to always be reliant upon referrals, although it's easier to get referrals in a niche as well. But I think as this industry goes that way, and the in-person meeting, sort of the come into the office for your quarterly review, I've got fewer clients that want to do that too. Clients who used to see me 4 times a year only want to see me twice a year. And so I think for everybody out there, if you can find a niche, I think it will carry you further over the next couple decades. That's nice. My recommendation.
Excellent. It's a great recommendation. And I think you're right. The studies have shown that once you're in that niche and you're in a group of people, it's harder for others to break in too. And that's really great stuff. Well, thanks, Nick. You're an inspiration, and we're so glad you were with us today on the Financial Advisors Workshop. So we will leave it there. And again, thanks again.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks a lot, Brian.
All right. And thanks everybody for being with us today at the Financial Advisor Workshop. We will be back with another great interview with another great guy like Nick. And we will see you then. Until then, thanks everybody.